Hey everybody, and welcome to day 2 of You Can Heal Your Life 30-day challenge. I'm Dr. Amay Parekh, and welcome once again. I hope you all were able to go through day 1 video and you all did the necessary tasks as well. You all got your journals, you all made those 2 columns, some not so happy moments, some happy moments. You all decided one specific goal or one specific area that you think you want to improve on, and it's possible to do so. And third, you actually shared your blessing onto the group, because this is very important. The healing will only work when we start working as a group together. So I hope you're going to put in that little bit of effort from your side. Now every day we are going to give you some video and some tasks, and it's going to build up as we move forward. There may be some times where we're going to give you some affirmations to do, some small exercises to do. Please do them religiously, because that's what's going to make all the difference, right? So on day 2 we are going to discuss some of the principles, which is the core crux of the entire book. From day 3 we'll go into chapter wise, and there will be multiple exercises that we do every day. We are going to look at the book in a sort of a more personalized manner, and I hope that you all can connect in with it as I have done. Alright, so on day 2, the first thing that Louise Hay says, and she starts by explaining, is that we all have the power within us, and that the universe is constantly supporting us in whatever we are creating in our life. So if you've heard about The Secret, or you've read the book, or you've watched the movie, or heard of the law of attraction, that's pretty much on a similar principle. Every thought that we have has a certain amount of energy, and that is what is actually bringing about things in our life. But what happens is we very easily tend to blame, complain, or find an excuse and put it onto other people. So if our thoughts are creating our reality, then why is it that we have so many problems? Because we don't want to intentionally create those problems, but somehow or the other we've had certain experiences that we picked up from our parents, or we picked them up from our peers, or we've had certain past experiences which have developed into something called as the belief system. When we keep repeating the same thing over and over again in our minds, well, our subconscious mind sort of takes them as facts, and they become something called as a behavioral pattern. So the entire book is based on understanding these behavior patterns and how they have created issues in our health, our wealth, our relationships. She even goes to the extent of saying that certain emotions get trapped in our body and they produce disease. So she talks about resentment, criticism, guilt, fear as being the 4 main primary negative emotions that somehow or the other lead to disease in our body, and the inability to forgive is what is resulting on all of them. So where does all this come from? Like I said, we may have picked it up from our surroundings, or somehow we've learned this. So today on day 2, we need to figure out what is the pattern that you are creating in your life. Like we looked at day 1, day 2 we are going to do a little more reflection. In the negative areas that you looked at, I want you to take at least 2 incidents, okay? Take any of those 2 incidents and see if that pattern has repeated in your life. Like when we were discussing about the good things, now we're kind of looking at the negative part. So on day 2, you need to identify what is that negative pattern that is repeating. You can take 3, you can take 4, you can take as many as you want to, but I would not suggest going more than 5 at a time. Secondly, once you've got that pattern, what I want you to do is try and go back to where did this come from. Like, have you, maybe a lot of us believe that money gives a lot of problems. If you have too much money, it can be a problem. If you don't have money, it can be a problem. So was that somebody in your life that was experiencing something similar? Maybe your parents, or maybe someone in your childhood, something that you saw in your relationships, in your health, whichever area you're working on. Of course there's going to be a much more defined exercise as we move forward, but for now let's begin with identifying where we are going wrong and what is the thought process behind it. Because ultimately what Louise Hay will say is that what we believe about ourselves is what is creating the reality. And most of the clients that she's worked with will always say that I am somehow or the other not worthy enough. When we go as a counselor, also when we see clients, or even when I've worked on myself, somehow the lack comes from the belief that we are not good enough, we are not worthy enough. I'm sure all of us have experienced this one time or the other. So I want you to go back to your own memory. Like yesterday when I was talking to you about, how I wanted to quit dentistry, let me tell you a little bit about what happened. When I was not getting that necessary results in my work, or somehow or the other I felt that I was, not doing the right job, I kind of wanted to run away from the situation. And I like I said, I was misguided, or I was, talking about how I had this problem. But I could learn things on my own as well. Now what happened is I gave my power to somebody else, and that's where I started creating a reality which was not my ideal. So I want you to do exactly that. Find out the situation where you have given your power to somebody else or to some situation, and what you want to change. Because unless we know that, we don't know our starting point. So today you're going to identify some of those starting points. From tomorrow, we start creating more changes. See you tomorrow.